Hi, sixth graders. This is Miss Young. This is a video to help you prepare for the Chapter 4 checkpoint quiz if you're not feeling ready yet or you want some extra practice. So what I would suggest is you write out these fraction problems yourself and kind of do them with me. I pause the video, try them yourself, then hit play and make sure you're doing it correctly. So consider these two fractions. What is the least common multiple for the denominators? So we're trying to find the smallest number that they both multiply into. So let's list the multiples of 12. This is where if you're really stuck, you can use a multiplication chart when you're working on this. So we have 12, 24, 36, 48, you keep going. I tend to stop and do the other one and then add more if I need to. 8, 16, 24. Oh, we have a match. So the smallest number they both have on the list is your LCM. Now we're going to add the two fractions. To do that, they need to have the same denominator, which is why we found a common denominator. So we copy down the two fractions. And then I draw over here a new fraction that has the common denominator we found, so that 24 from above. Now we're trying to find an equivalent fraction, so a fraction that's an equal portion. That's why we're multiplying by 1, because then it will have the same value. So how do we turn a 12 into a 24? Multiply by 2. To make this fraction actually be a 1, the numerator and denominator need to match, because 2 over 2 is 1 whole. Then we multiply across the top and we get 10 24ths. This one here, we want to turn an 8 into a 24. You just draw a rectangle for your giant one. Mine got a little crazy. 8 times what gets us 24? Again, if you're really stuck, you can check on a multiplication chart. It's good practice to do it by hand. You would multiply by 3. Numerator is the same. 4 times 3 is 12. Now, some of you may have noticed we could have simplified the fraction ahead of time. I would suggest not doing that for the quiz because we're having you do each step layer by layer, but that can be a really good strategy. Now that they have the same denominator, we can add them. Make sure you just add the numerators so we get 22 over 24. Then you see if there's a greatest common factor. So if you simplified it ahead of time here, you wouldn't have this step at this point. So that's why we're doing it in this order. So you need to figure out the factors of 22 and 24, and then find the biggest one they both have. So 22 as 1, 2, and I go through my head and go, does 3 work? Does 4? Does 5? And you'll get quicker and quicker at this the more you practice. We've been practicing up throughout quarter 1 and now in quarter 2. And you will go through and you will find out it's just these 4 are factors of 22. Then 24 has some more factors. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 12, 24. And what I like to do to check is I make sure I have pairs. So the pairs I connected and multiply to get 24. So we have 22 24ths. We want to reduce the fraction. So it's an equal fraction, but the same portion. Our greatest common factor isn't that big. It's just 2. So we are going to divide by a giant 1. Divide by 2 in the numerator and denominator. And we get 11 12ths. And that is our final answer. So that is a simplified version or a reduced version of 22 24ths. Now we'll be doing basically the same thing, except we have 3 fractions. So you need to find a common multiple, the least common multiple that all 3 of them have, which is a little more complicated. So I'm going to list my 4s. So I'm looking at each denominator. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24. I'm noticing there's a 24. That could be something useful coming up. So I might stop there. You could keep going. Okay, so I'm going to do 6, 12. Hey, 12 and 12 match, but we need it to work for all 3 numbers. So let's keep going. 18, 24. Wait a minute. These both have 24. Let's count by 24s. 24. Oh, we don't even have to count more than one of the 24s. These all match. So that is our smallest one they have in common. Because we could have kept going and there would be bigger ones that they all share. But we stopped when we got to the smallest one, which is the first one that works. Okay, to add the fractions, we have to convert them so they have the same denominator. We want 1/4 written somehow with 24 as our denominator. We want 5/6 written with 24 as our denominator. And the last fraction already has 24 written as its denominator, so we can just leave it. So how do we turn a 4 into a 24? We're going to do that by multiplying by a giant 1. Anything times 1 is itself. So it's keeping the same portion, the same value, just different numerator and denominator. 4 times what gets us 24? 6. We match the numerator and denominator because we want it to be one whole. 1 times 6 is 6. Same process here. We multiply by a giant 1. 6 times a blank gets us 24. That is 4. If you're having trouble figuring out the blank, you can take more time to process. I've done these a lot, so I'm a little quicker, and I'm trying not to make the video too long. You can use multiplication charts. You could check your work at home with a calculator. Okay, 5 times 4 gets us 20. So we have these 3 fractions to add. They now all have the same denominator. They are going to add up the numerators. 6 plus 20 plus 3 is 29. Notice this is a fraction greater than 1. And so we might want to change it into a mixed number. One thing I'm realizing is when I made this problem up, I made up one that doesn't have a greatest common factor. Our greatest common factor is just 1. So if they shared a factor, we would divide the numerator and denominator by that shared factor, the biggest one we could find, just like we did up here. But for now, I'm going to have you practice doing another skill we've been working on, converting an improper fraction, so a fraction where the numerator is bigger than the denominator, into a mixed number. So this is 29 24ths. 24 24ths would be one whole. And then to get from 24 to 29, we'd have 5 more pieces. And I'm not drawing these pieces the right sizes. But so this is one whole, or 24 24ths. And this would be the leftover 5 24ths. So we write 1 and 5 24ths. Some of you do this with long division. There's a few ways to think about it, but that would be our final answer. So we didn't end up needing to do greatest common factor here, but the one on the quiz will have that. All right, let me know if you have any questions. Thanks for watching this video.